Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit about the history of Valentine's Day, but more specifically understanding loving in secret and understanding love across gender. So a little bit of background. Obviously, people face discrimination differently based on their race, religion, gender, and sexuality, depending on the cultural aspects of the cities that surround them, the societies that surround them, both immediately and broader. And because we are in a technological age, it's easier to ignore that, but it's also easier to kind of get stuck in that and only see all the bad things. So people are more comfortable hating on others behind the safety of their screens, and because of this, a lot of individuals don't get to be who they are, and they end up hiding for fear of their own or others, such as their family or partner's safety. It is well known that some people have a preference for holding hate in their hearts, and that's whatever. They can be angry if they need to be, but at the very least, I hope that they can learn to allow others to be, because if it doesn't harm you or anybody else, if you're upset by it, you can just ignore it. You don't have to interact with content that bothers you. You live your life the way you choose to do it, but allow others to do so as well. Specifically, their endeavors in love do not affect you. Okay, I don't know that I'm going to pronounce this word correctly. I should have done a little bit more research, but I got wrapped up in just writing it all out. So, Lupercalia is a pagan fertility festival that people think is where Valentine's Day comes from. There's a lot of different stories, but it was a worshipping of a Roman god of agriculture and other prominent figures, and it acted as likely the earliest precursor to Valentine's Day. The event involved sexually charged celebration, animal sacrifice, and random coupling to increase fertility and avoid evil spirits. Though the holiday shares a name with saints of the Christian Church, it is likely that Christians drew the lines for this holiday from pagan tradition. Logically, that makes sense, because a lot of other holidays within the Christian Church are brought in and based on pagan rituals and beliefs, and there are several legends surrounding the life of Saint Valentine, the most common of which being that Saint Valentine was executed by the Roman Emperor after marrying couples in secret. Another legend states that Saint Valentine was thrown in jail due to his faith, curing the jailer's blind daughter before his execution and leaving a note signed, "From your Valentine." In the 5th century, February 14th was declared a day to honor Saint Valentine. Though we do not know which specific story or saint named Valentine, the Christian Church was said to have been unhappy with the original holiday of Lupercalia, but wanted to Christianize the celebration. They kept the tradition of pulling names from boxes, though instead of partners, he pulled the names of famous Christians to imitate through the year. This far in, Valentine's Day is not yet a romance-fueled holiday in history. That comes a bit later. References of Valentine's Day throughout history. Valentine's greeting was documented throughout the Middle Ages, but it wasn't until the 18th century that it became common. The British Museum has built the first printed Valentine's card and the first Valentine's poem, or what is believed to be the first Valentine's poem. What is believed to be the first printed Valentine dates to 1797 and is decorated with flowers, doves, and cupids or cherubs. And what is believed to be the oldest Valentine's Day poem, written by Charles, Duke of Orleans, in 1415 while he was imprisoned in the Tower of London, was written. That was the way I worded that was poor. Shakespeare also speaks of Valentine's Day and being somebody's Valentine in Hamlet. Throughout the Middle Ages, Valentine's Day lost both its pagan influence and Christian characteristics and became a day to celebrate love and romance. In 1450, Valentine was the name of someone's love. In 1610, Valentine's gifts were given to a loved one. In the 1800s, it meant a message exchanged between couples. In the 1840s, Esther Howland was the first to mass-produce Valentine's cards. In 1913, Valentines were officially added to Hallmark's inventory, first printing in 1915 and first appearing on store shelves in 1916. And now that we have all the background of Valentine's Day, and people understand and have long believed that Valentine's Day was a day originating from secret marriages and secret lovers and other things, but who then, if not the LGBTQ community, has had to love in secret the most? That did not come about naturally. Homosexuality was gradually made to be something feared and treated with disgust. It may come as a surprise to some, but that was intentional both politically and religiously for the sole purpose of creating fear and control within communities and helping dismantle the pagan religion. In the 4th century, emperors who adopted Christianity as their religion enacted the first laws to punish same-sex attraction at a time when same-sex attraction benefited those in the military, education, art, and more. Prejudice against effeminate men and passive men was already building. The ruling class realized that the prohibition of same-sex relationships would serve as a political tool, eliminating both religious and political competitors. After converting to Christianity, Constantine sought out to execute pagan priests for being effeminate. The most often attacked were the more passive in the relationships, those more out in the community as gay men, or often referred to as bottoms. The bottoms. They were the focus of abuse and jokes most often, but also the most common subject of desire. In fact, male prostitution was common and taxed until Christianity took hold. Which is weird because Jesus was friends with the beggars and the prostitutes, but however, in the 6th century, the laws adjusted to attack the active partner as well, demonizing altogether the desire of one man to another. Christian emperors hated that the pagans were so comfortable in the fluidity of sexuality and gender, even so far as stating terrible things about the non-binary and even transgender individuals who helped run the temples, solely because they dressed as women, wore makeup, danced sensually, and more. Perhaps the Christian men of the time did not wish to be a participant in creating meaning, art, love, and life. Between 491 and 578, the punishment for being gay was to be castrated. Many bishops and individuals involved in the church were to face this punishment. One of the people that helped spread homophobia largely within the church had fallen in love with his friend, who died a year into the relationship, and that man later went on a rampage of hate from losing his lover. Laws of the late Roman Empire said for gay men to be burned alive. Other laws followed similar patterns of castration, lashings, or exile, added in 693. In the 12th century, financial gain was used to work against anyone who may be found out as homosexual. The church or state was allowed to try against crimes of homosexuality in the 1290s. The legal and religious persecution of gender variation and homosexual love have gone hand in hand for centuries. It was always a scheme for control, power, and wealth. If you keep a population scared and in hiding from themselves and or others, there is no more worry of insurrection. Considerably more recent history relating to the persecution of LGBTQ individuals. In chronological order, the history of homosexuality in the United States and broader, leading to the legalization of same-sex marriage, including some but not all of everything that this group has faced. June 11th, 1926, police raided a lesbian bar, Eve's Hangout, deporting the owner. The bar never opens again. 1934, motion pictures banned the portrayal of LGBTQ characters except when depicted as a villain. 1950, as a part of the Lavender Scare, job losses due to allegations of homosexuality increased. 1953, gay men and lesbians were barred from working for the federal government. 1961, Illinois became the first state to legalize consensual same-sex activity. 1966, Compton's cafeteria riot. June 28, 1969, Stonewall riots. June 28, 1970, parade in celebration of the first year anniversary of Stonewall, regarded as one of the first pride parades. September 3rd, 1971, Jack Baker and Michael McConnell become the first legally married same-sex couple in U.S. history after discovering their county had no laws prohibiting same-sex marriage. January 1st, 1973, Maryland becomes the first state in the U.S. to ban same-sex marriage. 1973, the American Psychiatric Association removes homosexuality from its list of mental illnesses. 1976, the Lincoln Legion of Lesbians is established in Nebraska and is an early example of lesbian organization in a rural state. 1978, Gilbert Baker designs the rainbow flag to symbolize LGBT folks' hope and pride. November 27, 1978, Harvey Milk, the first openly gay person to be elected to public office in California, is assassinated by Dan White, who receives a charge for voluntary manslaughter instead of first-degree murder because they claimed he had depression and it could not have been premeditated. 1993, Brandon Teena, a transgender man, was raped and murdered in Humboldt, Nebraska. His life and death were the subject of two films, one being Boys Don't Cry in 1999, being based off the 1998 documentary The Brandon Teena Story, both describing the legal and medical discrimination that contributed to Brandon's death. 1994, and Don't Ask, Don't Tell was the official United States policy on military service from LGBTQ individuals implemented by the Clinton administration. 1996, Rent, a musical about the AIDS crisis, largely considered a queer classic, is performed for the first time. 1998, Hawaii and Alaska become the first states to pass constitutional amendments against same-sex marriage, leading to a tidal wave effect, reaching a peak of 31 states banning same-sex relationships in 2012. 1999, Transgender Day of Remembrance is founded by Gwendolyn Ann Smith. 2003, Lawrence v. Texas struck down sodomy laws, challenging those in other states and leading to same-sex sexual activity legal in every U.S. state and territory. September 6, 2005, California becomes the first state to pass same-sex marriage by legislature. Arnold Schwarzenegger vetoes the law. 2006, Brokeback Mountain wins 3 Oscars. 2011, Don't Ask, Don't Tell stops being enforced. May 9th, 2012, Barack Obama becomes the first sitting president to openly support legalizing same-sex marriage. June 26, 2015, Obergefell v. Hodges declares it a fundamental right to marry, legalizing same-sex marriage in all 50 states. Less than 10 years, same-sex marriage has been legal in all 50 states. Let that sink in. 2018, openly transgender individuals are allowed to join the military. A lot was left out because this would become a much longer video, and this paper would have been significantly longer paper if every hate crime, mistreatment, murder, and injustice that people have faced simply for loving someone of the same gender or having gender variation have faced. In Africa today, the Bible is referenced as justification for harsh homophobic laws. Uganda puts people away for life in the case of homosexuality. They claim to uphold tradition and protect family dynamics. It is an excuse to blatantly mistreat a section of the population and force them to live in hiding and in fear. People have used religion as a shield for their mistreatment of anyone different from them, but hardly understand the institutionalized homophobia stemming from the religious and political gain behind focusing the hate onto one group or another. Those same people say that love is sacred, but they only mean it in one way. If anyone reads what has happened to LGBTQ individuals throughout history and thinks for 1 second that that is just They have been brainwashed by the constant upheld beliefs of it being immoral. Loving is not a crime. Anyone who has convinced you that it is has perfectly controlled you to be so full of hate that they can mold your anger onto whoever or whatever they want. The level of ignorance is beyond me. If you think that marriage in secret, love in secret, or messages sent from loved ones after they have been executed for their beliefs is tragically beautiful and good reason to celebrate love on the 14th of February, please understand that the LGBTQ community has faced those feelings the most, and they deserve to celebrate alongside you. Remember to love always. If you or anyone needs help regarding situations relating to gender or sexuality, there are a lot of places you can find the support and help that you need. I'll list all of them down below, but I have a lifeline for LGBTQ, trans individuals, National Suicide Prevention Hotline, BIPOC and LGBTQ Lifeline, Desi LGBTQ Lifeline, Muslim LGBTQ Warmline, LGBTQ National Youth Talkline, National Runaway Safeline, as well as the Trevor Lifeline, Rainbow Youth Project, and so many other resources are out there. Do your research. The help that you are looking for is out there, and stay safe. There are people that care about you. You are so important to your community, and there are so many people hoping that you stick around. Please ask for the help when you need it. Also, I will provide all of my sources for the information that I provided in this piece, but let me know what you thought. Let me know if there is something more specific within the history of this conversation that you would like me to go in depth in, or if there's something important that you feel that I'm missing. Absolutely put that in the comments, because I tried to be very concise but including a lot, which is really difficult. So if there's anything I'm missing, absolutely put it in the comments to educate the rest of the group as well as me. But thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next week.